Elevating obligations. This week, I am reflecting on the price of our liberties and the possibility that we are overemphasizing our rights and underemphasizing our obligations. We all love liberty and freedom. It's an idea central to all human desire. And it also plays a major part in the American story. We even greet people coming to our shore on the East Coast with the green goddess herself, the Statue of Liberty. The idea of juxtapositions and counterbalancing is, of course, central castings in these posts. There is always another side to the story we are told. And given our media landscape, it is easy to ignore or forget the other side. After all, the people who are selling their ideas are very clever in their way of making you believe there is no other side. And social media algorithms are also effective bubble enablers, sending you only stories you like. Seeking to restore a better balance in our public discourse is, of course, the purpose of this newsletter, Pursuing Elevation. In our Constitution, we have certain inalienable rights that we hold dear. They're integral to the success and fabric of both the United States, but also much of the Western world as we know it. However, the point I'd like us to examine is the price of these rights. When argued for, rights are often viewed in isolation, but rights are never just a right. They are the benefits of belonging. There are no free lunches. There's a price of admission to belonging, our behaviors. We are a collective, a community, bound by norms, traditions, and values. Without them, the price of our freedom is diluted and ultimately completely revoked. Some people have argued that we should put a statue of responsibility on the West Coast to balance our liberties. Not a bad idea. We certainly need to upgrade our public discourse with more dialogue about what must be done in order to protect our freedoms. Richard Haass, the president of the Council on Foreign Relations for the past 20 years, has written a new book called The Bill of Obligations, where he eloquently makes the similar argument that we ought to balance our Bill of Rights with another Bill of Obligations. It's a good idea, at least spiritually. Not sure how to do it constitutionally. I have listed his 10 suggested obligations with my interpretations of them here. First, be informed. In order to make better decisions, elect better leaders, and have the government representatives we want, we have to raise our own expectations. To some degree, we get the government we deserve. And the way to get something better is to ask better questions, have higher expectations, and be more informed. 2, get involved. I chose the image of voting as the picture for this post because voting is our right, but it is also an obligation. We can't really have opinions about our leaders if we don't even vote. Writing to your elected leaders, voicing your opinion, and getting involved are critical parts of a healthier democracy. 3, stay open to compromise. Well, here we have some work to do. The art of leadership is getting something done, and the path forward always involves compromise. As business leaders, we know this. A deal most often settles above where a buyer wants and below where a seller desires. 4, remain civil. This is one of my favorite of Haass's obligations. Let's stop dehumanizing people just because we don't agree with them. We can be kind, civil, and much more agreeable in our disagreement. George W. Bush said, quoted in his book, quote, "Civility is not a tactic or a sentiment. It is determined a choice of trust over cynicism, of community over chaos." End of quote. 5, reject violence. Well, this one may seem rather obvious, but important to state. As Gandhi reminded us, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. 6, value norms. Norms are, as Richard Haass says in his book, like the lubricant or scaffolding of society. They are the connective human tissue in our public body. 7. Promote the common good. We live in a very interdependent world, and the outcomes of others affect all of us. It can't be stated much better than Martin Luther King Jr.'s words, quote, "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly," end of quote. 8. Respect government service. We are all guilty, I know I am, of having disbelief in government solutions. But at the same time, there are 25 million people working for our government in various capacities. Many of them are absolutely necessary for most people, whether it is the police, defense, fire, judicial system, infrastructure, or the many other services we all depend on. Yes, we can and should debate efficiency. Can it get done better? Certainly. But his point is that we probably get what we expect, and the way we get a better government is to expect more, not less. 9. Support teaching of civics. There is a current erosion of civic education. These obligations will never be lived by unless we also teach how, why, and what the government is all about. And 10. Put country first. The point here is, of course, that we all must often put our self-interest behind the interest of our country. We don't see this particularly often in our politics today, and it is sad. I link to his book in my post. It's a quick read. I think Richard makes a very good case to counterbalance our rights with a set of obligations. Personally, I have been disappointed for quite some time that so many conversations about responsibility end up pointing outward. The reality is we all have some level of responsibility for everything. As I've said here many times, things can be my problem even if they are not my fault. So anytime we get frustrated or concerned with something, the best course of action is always to consider what you can do. If I can do something, I should, and I should just do it. If I can't, or I'm not willing to, perhaps I should just be less frustrated. It's a good way to live. Have a great week.